For decades, mountain bikers have driven right past Cascade Locks on their way to Hood River. Not anymore. Last March, I went for a bike ride with my friends, and we decided to check out these new trails that suddenly popped up in Trail Forks, and we were all pleased with our decision to stop in Cascade Locks. Northwest Trail Alliance is part of a team working to develop a stable and consistent attractive force in the Cascade Locks area that will strengthen its connections to regional commerce. That's an unusual statement for me on this channel. Anyhow, I decided that the people who built it could describe it best, so I decided to have a chat with the head trail steward for the climb system to get all the details.
Ted Dodd with Northwest Trail Alliance, Cascade Locks trail steward.
And one of my first questions for Ted was, how long did it take to make all of this happen?
Development, well, we've been digging for about 2 years, but the process of getting approval to build on Forest Service land in the Columbia Gorge has taken about 12 to 15 years of advocacy work to get the approval to do this. I have to say, Andy Jansky gets the biggest kudos, the biggest shout outs. If you ever see Andy Jansky in a pub, you got to buy him a beer because he sat in all these meetings for 12 to 15 years slugging it out.
Why Cascade Locks?
Well, Cascade Locks is really interesting. First of all, the beauty of the area. It's hard not to turn and see a beautiful view. The other thing is too, is that we've got some awesome partners here. The Port of Cascade Locks has been a big supporter of ours. We, Andy Jansky, Northwest Trail Alliance, originally approached Cascade Locks about building some trails, approached Forest Service, and of course this was 12 to 15 years ago. Advocacy was taking forever to get the approval, and so we decided, well, let's build EasyClimb, which is on Port of Cascade Locks property, to demonstrate we can build a trail and be a partner that the Forest Service can count on to fulfill these big promises that we had. You know, first of all, CLIMB stands for Cascade Locks International Mountain Biking Trail, which is a pretty aspirational name considering we went from zero to where we are now and we have bigger plans still ahead. But Cascade Locks, I'd have to say from the partnership of Cascade Locks, the Port of Cascade Locks, the City of Cascade Locks, the community support, and of course, we build great alliances with the Forest Service, who's really come on board to help us implement this.
One of the things that surprised me the most about this trail system is that it actually uses a part of a hiking trail. A hiking trail in the gorge, the National Gorge Scenic Area, to complete the loop. Improbably, the climb to the top of the system incorporates part of the Herman Creek Trail to access the top of the 400 Trail. It's only one way, and it's just to climb up to here, the intersection with the wilderness area. No bikes ever enter the Mark O. Hatfield Wilderness Area, but it's still pretty remarkable that any bikes were ever allowed on any hiking trail in the Columbia Gorge National Scenic Area this close to a wilderness area. That had to have been a heavy diplomatic lift, so I asked Ted to explain.
Well, that once again came to the advocacy work with Andy Jansky, you know, working with the hikers, working with the equestrians, to ease their mind that it was not going to be these crazy guys disturbing their recreational opportunity or their recreational experience. And also when we were looking at just from a feasibility, how to get from point A to point B due to the topography in that particular area, trying to build a secondary trail for mountain bikes, it just was not possible. So everyone kind of gave and took a little bit. There were some other places we did want to build trails that we did not get, and also some other trails we wanted to access that we did not get. So it was kind of a compromise in what we did get. But I think it worked out really well in the end, where we do have a small section of Herman Creek we climb up. You wouldn't want to go down it because it's just brake burner, waste of energy. So the climbing trail's perfect. Our speed's moderate, which works really well with equestrians and hikers.
One of the reasons this forest behind Cascade Locks has been overlooked for so many decades is that it's a liminal space. A liminal space is a transitional or in-between place. It's a space that feels kind of ambiguous or uncertain. It's that weird short little hallway that's kind of half dark and leads only to an emergency exit and nothing else. It's that space out back of a building where all the HVAC equipment sits and where exhaust fans vent to. There's a certain emotional and psychological aspect to liminal spaces. They're in between things, crucial and necessary, not necessarily hostile, but also not really inhabitable. From the viewpoint of recreation, this forest here is a liminal forest. It's perfectly lovely, but not remarkable in any way. There are no notable attractions here, just a power line cut and some old road grades. It's not high enough to get snow, so it isn't interesting to skiers, and there aren't easily accessible vistas or fields of explosive wildflowers to attract hikers. The trees are average and the undergrowth is average, but what it does have is dirt and hills, and that's all mountain bikers want. Things about this area that make it uninteresting to other recreationists don't bother us. Mountain bikers like vistas, but we don't need them. We like big trees, but they're not necessary. The highway traffic and trains are audible for miles up most of the gorge trails, including here. That doesn't bother us either. We're here for the dirt, the rocks, and the trees. The low elevation is perfect for us. It makes this place rideable 11 months of the year, and that's where mountain biking excels as a recreation. I think that benefits Cascade Locks, as mountain bikers are a more consistent user group, and this trail system is going to draw more of us through town. But I wanted to ask Ted for his opinion.
I would say that's true. I would definitely say that's true, and it has to do with when hikers are trying to get out there, trying to get into nature. You know, hearing the rumble of the Columbia Gorge Highway and trucks or trains down in the valley isn't as appealing. If you actually look at what trails get used the most, are the ones for hikers, are the ones that are getting further away. Matter of fact, there is other sections, the Trail 400, which kind of parallels Highway 84. That does not get the attention and use because of the highway noise. Now, mountain bikers, we're fine with it. You know, we're fine with cruising along, yucking it up with our buddies and whatnot, and so we're a little bit more flexible as to that, because we go to the trails for a variety of things, getting back to nature, obviously, but also for the fun of the sport of mountain biking.
So there you have it. It's not like those of you who watch this channel really needed a promotional video on mountain biking, but what you do need to know is the new trails going in near Cascade Locks are worth riding, and they're just the beginning. I wanted to tell you about what's going on here because I think it's remarkable, and if Andy had told me 15 years ago that he was working on this, I would have rolled my eyes and walked away. I wouldn't have believed it was possible. But here it is. The Cascade Locks International Mountain Biking Trails are going to be a stacked loop system, ultimately consisting of 28 total miles of trail. Currently, there is enough single track in the system that, depending on how you set it up, you can get around 10 to 15 miles of riding with between 1,000 to 2,000 feet of climbing. That's already a pretty solid ride on its own, with more coming very soon. I will be doing a more detailed review of the trails in an upcoming video, but for now, take a look at Trail Forks and know that this trail system is VoiceOver Trails approved. I like it. It behooves you to stop in Cascade Locks and ride this system instead of just going to Hood River all the time. Mix it up, live a little. Stop in Cascade Locks for a burger and a beer when you're done. Now, get out there and go ride your bike.